Hi, Jeff Quant with the Heartland Cycling Network. Thanks for tuning in, and here's another show. Tonight I have a special guest, Cynthia Yberra, and she is with Bike Angels. So Cynthia, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Okay, and tell me a little bit about Bike Angels. What is Bike Angels?
Well, Bicycle Angels was started in 2009 in Redondo Beach by a friend of mine, Dave Gold.
Oh, okay.
And the intention was to loan bicycles to people who wanted to raise money for charities. Oh. So they started out with 4 bicycles, and we're up to over 200 bicycles, and we've helped over about 80 charities.
Okay.
So that's the idea, is to empower cyclists to raise money for charities both locally and nationally. That
is, if the people do not have a bike, is that what you're doing? You're loaning a bike to them for that reason?
Correct, and it's a one-time loan. Unless you're a veteran, then we make the exception of loaning bicycles to veterans multiple times.
Okay.
The idea is, if the person gets into bicycling, we would like them to use a local bike shop to purchase a bike, and to become a part of the biking community.
So you said this started out in the West Coast?
Correct.
And you said, how long ago was this?
In 2009.
2009, so it's been 12 years.
Yes.
So with the number of bikes you have, you're here in Omaha. So how did that connection come about? You said it was your friend.
Right.
Tell me more about that.
I was out in California this spring and took my bicycle out there, my Orbea, and donated it to him for Bicycle Angels. And then he asked me if I'd like to be a fleet manager for the Omaha area. And I thought it was a great idea, and I said, of course.
Okay. So this has just started here within the last year that you've done this?
Yes. We have 9 bikes in our fleet right now. They are all road bikes at the time, but I also encourage them to take donations of mountain bikes, because as you know, there's a lot of gravel biking in Omaha and in Nebraska, so and Iowa as well. So folks are very interested in doing charity rides on gravel. So Bicycle Angels was okay with that and has opened that up to mountain bikes and such.
You're building a fleet, so you're actually asking and seeking donations. Is that correct?
Yes. I mean, I would like both things to happen. What we do is, so people have called us. I have several people who want to donate, and if they aren't bikes that we can use in our fleet, we'll sell them and use that money toward buying bicycles that can be used in the fleet.
Okay. Are you partnering with some of the bike shops then here in town?
Yep, that is our intention.
Okay.
That's our next step, actually, to speak with some of the bike shops, primarily for promotion, and to also let them know, our goal isn't to continually give bikes out to one person or the same person, but to encourage folks that are interested in bicycling and don't have a bike, borrow one from our fleet, and then purchase one from one of the bike shops, one of the local bike shops.
So you're building this fleet. Where are you? I mean, you're storing it. You've got somebody that's going to help you store it. So
yep.
I mean, that's probably good, because I hope you have enough room to store more bikes, because everybody's a little different size. So you have a different size bike for everybody, I would imagine.
Yeah, we we run from 49 to probably 54 or 56 right now. Okay. And like I said, we only have 9 in our fleet, but we're not quite sure if that will be enough. Of course, we always want to grow. Nobody has called to borrow yet, and I do have pamphlets out on the bike path over by Culver's. Twin Creeks.
Twin Creek.
Yep.
I know we were somewhat involved in getting that out there through the Bellevue Bicycle Club, which you are a member of and I'm a member of.
Absolutely.
Which is, great club to be part of. But so I mean, you got the flyers out there, and actually I have one here.
Yes.
Is what it looks like. And but people, if they wanted to find out more, where could they go?
They can go, we do have a Facebook page, Bicycle Angels Facebook page. We're also at www.bicycleangels.com.
Okay.
And that has a lot of information about, you know, who can borrow the bike, what the criteria is for fundraising, that kind of thing. So if somebody came to us and wanted to borrow a bike, they would need a valid driver's license,
Okay.
unless they're a child,
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah.
They would also need a Visa or MasterCard, and that's just to keep on file in case the bike is lost. That does not happen very often.
Yeah.
It's happened a couple of times, but that generally does not happen. Folks who borrow the bikes bring them back in pretty good shape. And then they take the bike, they train on it, they do their ride. They have to have proof that they're actually going to be riding in a fundraising capacity.
Well,
And
there's a number of fundraising rides that go on around this area.
Right.
So, I mean, even the Corporate Cycling Challenge, you might say, is a fundraiser for the Eastern Nebraska Trails Network. There's the Wear Yellow folks.
That's
I
right.
know the MS Ride is out there. God, I could probably go on and on. There's so many of them. The Omaha Connect Ride is another fundraiser. So there's a lot of rides that are out there that people can participate in.
That's right.
And they can, if you don't have a bike or you don't have what you consider a good bike for the conditions, you know, Bicycle Angels may be able to help you on that. Now, do you bring in any bikes from outside the area if somebody wants to borrow one and you don't have one in the stable right now, or not?
We're not doing that right now.
Not right now. Okay.
Yeah, because that would have to come from California.
Okay.
We
I didn't
do-
know where the other chapters might be or the
Right,
other
right.
locations.
We have Los Angeles, Salt Lake City, San Francisco, San Diego, Oklahoma just opened one, Omaha, and Las Vegas.
Okay, so we're kind of like the eastern edge. You're on the bleeding edge of Bicycle Angels
Right.
as far as coming out here, which is great. I think this is a super idea that is, I mean, it's going to help people get on a bike.
Right.
And if they want to take and ride to help out a group to fundraise. So, I mean, it actually works for a lot of different ways.
Right, and we are a 501c3, and you know, our basic premise is to promote bicycle riding and raising money for charities. I mean, that is the basic premise. And when I told BBC initially, we give bikes to people who want to raise money for charity, they were wondering how that occurred. Most of the time when I say that, yeah, we loan these really nice bikes to folks. Well, what's the catch? There's no catch. We just want, you know, to empower people to raise money for charities within, not just within the area, but again, like I said, nationally.
Oh, yeah.
And we will, I've spoken with Bicycle Angels. You know, I want Kansas to be involved. I've already spoken with the Midwest coordinator for MS. They don't do the MS ride in Nebraska any longer.
Oh, really? I didn't.
Which is, yeah, a shame.
Yeah, okay.
When COVID happened, a lot of things happened, but they do them in Kansas still. They have a couple of big rides.
Okay.
And Missouri, and there are people that ride in Nebraska, she said, to raise money, which would be perfectly acceptable. So, yeah, I'll go as far as probably Kansas. The folks who would want to borrow the bikes should come to us, though, so we can, you know, at least get some measurements on them so we know that we're putting them on the right size bike.
Right, exactly. So let me ask you a little bit about yourself. I mean, obviously you ride bikes. I mean,
I do.
We've run across each other on the trails a couple of times too. So how long have you been doing that?
I think I started, I mean, I've been riding a bike all of my life. In fact, I did my first RAGBRAI when I was 18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, Jeff.
Oh, I didn't think that. I just thought, you know, RAGBRAI is something that I've not done.
Oh, you haven't?
No, and I want to do that. I want to do brand. I want to do some of the multi-day, tour to Nebraska. That would be really kind of fun too.
Right.
So.
I started, so I used to ride a heavy steel bike. Here I am climbing hills on my first RAGBRAI on this, hybrid heavy Cannondale bike. And then in 2008, it was 2008, 2007, 2008 that I bought my Orbea.
Oh, okay.
And I just recently bought a number 22, which is a titanium bike. And the boys in the bike shop really think it's a sexy bike. That's what they say.
Yeah.
And they're always like, "Oh, this bike belongs to you?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yes, it does."
Yeah. Wow.
So I enjoy it.
That's cool. I mean, I rode bikes as a kid, but there was like a big gap in there. I really didn't start getting into it again until maybe about 20 years ago when my wife and I went out and bought a bike.
Yes.
And, we went into the bike shops and they asked us some questions, what would we like to ride? So we ended up with 2 Comfort hybrids. So when you're talking about a big old clunky bike, a Comfort hybrid that we had was like that. It weighed over 30 pounds.
Sure.
Had shocks in the front and the seat and big handlebars and a big seat, and you sat upright.
Right.
I rode that for thousands of miles, okay? Didn't know anything about it.
Right.
I go to a group ride and I show up, everybody's got a road bike. And I immediately thought, I'm in trouble. Okay? And that was about 5 years ago. So that's when my metamorphosis occurred.
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Wow.
That's when I started changing and I said, okay, need a road bike. Well, I got a road bike. I have a fat tire bike. I have a fitness hybrid. And I have a gravel bike. So I got 4.
Yeah.
So one for every occasion, different tires for different kinds of conditions. Like you say, you go out and ride gravel, you don't want it on your road bike because that's really kind of narrow and it gets kind of scary.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. I tell you the one bike that I have the most fun with when I do ride, and it is a steel bike, and that's my fat bike, but it's the heaviest bike.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, but I don't worry about any of the conditions then. So, all right, well, so what really motivates you about cycling? What's the thing you like?
I think I told you, it's kind of a moving meditation for me.
Oh, okay.
I can't sit still and meditate, but when I'm biking, by myself in particular, doing solitary biking, I enjoy that. I can really think about things or just kind of be a zombie and not think about things. So I quite enjoy that. Last year at this time, I did the Cowboy Trail by myself.
Oh, okay.
And
Unsupported? Or
unsupported. I had my car, so I would drive back and forth. So.
Oh, really? Wow.
And then go to the next spot and drive. So it was a really interesting ride.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that, but I also enjoy belonging to the bike club, being out in nature, and also riding my bike to work and back home. So that's kind of a benefit. The benefit is, decompressing after work, decompressing before work. So
when I worked in the corporate world, I did ride that Comfort hybrid a lot of times back and forth to work, and that's where they had a guy that was part of got the work as a group to start going out and riding bikes, and then we participated all in the corporate cycling challenge as a company group, which was sort of like my introduction into that sort of thing. And I did long rides. I did the Tour de Fort on that thing without any problem. Well, I shouldn't say that. The hills were still a problem.
Yes.
I was also about 50 pounds heavier.
That's a 75.
Yeah, I was still about 50 pounds heavier too, so that made a difference that way too.
Absolutely.
So that was a good, I call that my downhill gear, but that wasn't very helpful going uphill.
Right.
So. But yeah, you're right. Fitness is really one of the things. Motivation, meditation. Yeah, I really get that. I understand that perfectly. So let me see. As far as let's say what things that could you see could be improved, let's say in the Omaha area or the Heartland area in terms of cycling overall?
I think one thing that's really great, before I dive into the things I think should be improved, is that we have a pretty good bicycle system in Omaha. I can ride from 105th at Cancer Survivors Park all the way to work, which is the VA Medical Center,
Oh, okay.
on my bicycle, on trails, and not hit road except
Right.
for maybe two blocks of
Yeah.
on the street.
I'm sure it's not a direct path, though.
No, in fact, I cross Center Street twice. But that's good because it's great exercise. That's how I look at it. It's 11 miles to and 11 miles home. So 22 miles round trip, which is not too bad. But I think the other thing I appreciate about Omaha is when the streets aren't exactly clear of snow in the wintertime, the bike paths are quite clear. I think they do a pretty good job of keeping.
So you're out there in the winter.
Sometimes, if it's above 20 degrees,
20. Okay.
because I'm not crazy.
Okay, well, I might be crazy, so.
Yeah.
And that's where the fat bike comes into play. But so does your bike change then in the winter? Do you have a different bike that you use for the
I
winter?
do have another bike, but this bike is, I call it an adventure bike because I can use road tires on it up to 40.
Okay.
So
It's like my gravel bike.
I can put big tires on it if I want them. So I think I do think in general Omaha does a great job. I'd like to see more connectors, though, for people who don't have the luxury of riding on the bike path from or to work. I would like to see more connectors, like downtown connectors. I get a little freaked out riding downtown, although they've done some work to make
there's
it
a
friendlier.
protected bike lane now down Harney Street.
Harney, yep.
From Turner Park to downtown. I've not ridden that yet. I'd like to do that, but I live in West Omaha, so I have to make a specific journey to get there to do that. So, but have you ridden that by chance, or not really?
Yeah, we did a bike ride from 105th and Cancer Survivors Park over to Council Bluffs.
Oh, okay.
So we did the downtown bike ride, and it was fine. I felt okay. I mean, there was a part of it that did not. There is no protection, but that's the one thing I would say is I think drivers need more education.
Yes.
But we also have to remember bicyclists are usually drivers as well. So bicyclists also need to understand the rules of the road and to maintain their own safety. But we also need to reach out to drivers and say, hey, we drive too. We understand that we abide by the rules of the road, and we'd like you to do that as well.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're right about the educating, motorists,
Right.
especially those that are not bike riders, because I think a lot of the people that ride bikes maybe take extra care to make sure that when they're crossing an intersection or an area where there are bike paths. I mean, like the 144th Street Trail that runs from way up at Standing Bear Lake, goes all the way down to it's navigating a little bit, but goes down to the West Papio.
Sure.
Can actually go all the way down to Weirspon if you know how to navigate and get around to it. So, but those intersections that you cross, cyclists have to be aware as well as the motorists. And I guess one of my biggest pet peeves is when a car stops in the crosswalk area.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It is one of my pet peeves, and educating would be one of those things that I think would be something that I have a goal on, that I want to maybe get a state senator on our show sometime and start talking about that and see whether or not there's some things that we can do to help push that along that don't cost a lot of money, but something that just helps get that word out to the motorist about, hey, there's going to be more and more people riding bikes.
Well, and I think people also understand there's revenue generated. Let's, think about RAGBRAI coming through, or any of the big tours that go through these small towns. That's a lot of revenue for those towns. And generally, we're appreciated. For example, I was in Lincoln, Kansas this weekend, and I was really impressed because in Lincoln, Kansas, they actually had bikes that you could, you borrow, you borrow the bike and then bring it back. And this is a little tiny spit of a town in nowhere. And I was also riding my own bike in that area, and people were waving and like they were happy to see me on my bike, which is fabulous.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
So I think most people are generally friendly about bikers.
Yeah. Okay. As far as you talked about the trail system within the Omaha area, and it's hard sometimes to go from point A to point B without going a distance. I know for myself. I mean, I'm part of a Wednesday night ride that meets at Stinson Village in Exarban. Okay, I live 8 miles due west on Center Street from there. Okay, if I wanted to take the bike trails to get there, I'd have to ride about 22 miles. I'd have to ride the West Papio down to Twin Creek, and Twin Creek all the way up to Exarban.
Right.
That's great. Well, it takes me up to 90 minutes to do that. So, hour and 15, hour 30 minutes. So, having, let's say, some connectors, some bike paths in between there would certainly make that a little bit more shorter. Obviously, you're going to be crossing, intersections, and you have to be conscious of that. But,
Sure.
What other things do you think Omaha could do, or the area, or that you've seen in other areas? You sound like you've ridden in a lot of different places that might be an advantage for the Omaha area.
I think one thing in Redondo Beach, the PCH is very, very busy, which is Pacific Coast Highway, and can be very dangerous, but they've made it a share row. So, and that just means that bicyclists have the same rights as motorists do, share the road. And
that's true in Nebraska too, by the way.
Yes.
And there is a 3-foot rule. I don't like the 3 foot. I think it would be better to be 6 feet.
Yes.
And most drivers are very accommodating.
Where they move over. I know I've been, almost smashed by the semis driving by really, really close. It's great when they're going this way because they're pulling you along.
Yeah.
But when they're coming this way, it's pretty scary.
Yeah, exactly.
So, just I think more. Yes, let's make more connectors. Let's put bike paths onto like Center Street. I see a lot of bicyclists. I would not ride Center myself.
No, I wouldn't.
Because I just feel like it can be very dangerous. But I feel like if we put a bike path on Center, like a planned bike path.
Like one side. I mean, Blondo's got
Correct.
one side that's got a wider path. Really, that's what it is.
And really designate an area, and I think it could be done. So, but I'm not a DOT. I'm not Department of Transportation.
Oh yeah, well.
So
all we can do is raise our voices a little bit with certain people to try and get some action.
Right.
And I think it would be advantageous for communities to at least plan for bike paths, and when the opportunity arose, when they're doing road work and they have to rip up the sidewalks, well, we're planning to put a bike path here, so we're just going to put it in now.
That's right.
May not be complete until some time down the road, but we're going to take this opportunity to get these things taken care of. So.
Yeah, and I think, Omaha has put a lot of money into the bike paths, which is really cool.
Yeah.
We're almost close to, I think, connecting with Lincoln.
Oh, really?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
At least from Springfield, you can ride the Mopac East.
The Mopac. Well, I've ridden down to Springfield, gone across the bridge now that it's open.
Yep.
But I haven't gone any further. That is one of those areas where you have to ride some roads to get back onto the Mopac to get into Lincoln.
That's correct.
But that would be ideal if we could get that connected. And then from Springfield, well, actually it's north of Springfield, get it further up to another area.
That would be nice, yes.
Yeah. At least up to, the 144th Street connector or whatever.
Right.
there's a lot of trails out there. There are obviously the West Papio, and you've got the various lakes. I know that Papio NRD's got some plans to connect like Prairie Queen with Weirspon. So it's plans, but
we're getting there.
It's going to take time.
It does take time. Take time
So,
and money.
Anyhow, Bike Angels, this is the reason that we had you come on the show.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a great opportunity for people that want to take and get involved in a charity ride that they may not have, let's say, a decent bike for. They can get a free loan a bike, get a bike on loan for that particular ride. So they do get to ride it for, I mean, they may get it for, a week, so they can train on it a little bit?
Oh, they can train on it. I mean, I think sometimes it depends on the length of the, we'll loan it to them as long as they think they need to train.
Okay.
I mean, a couple of weeks before, maybe, especially if they're not somebody who rides a bike.
Yeah.
We expect the bike back within 2 weeks, though.
Okay. So, and that's at bicycleangels.com. So if you ever want to find out more about it, that's the place to look.
Absolutely.
And Cynthia, I don't know, is your contact information on there, or?
Cynthia Y at bicycleangels.com.
Okay.
Or you can call me at 310-456-4792.
Okay, very good. And they could text you at that number? Is that a mobile number?
Absolutely,
Okay,
yep.
so it's text, or that's your mobile number. That's outstanding.
Right.
So we'll get some of these links up onto the show so that people can contact you that way. That'd be great.
That would be fabulous. Thank you.
Anyhow, thanks for watching tonight, and I'd like to thank Cynthia for coming on to the show, and we learned a little bit more about Bicycle Angels, and I just want to remind everybody to pedal on.